Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Abernathy. Welcome to another episode of Balls and Strikes, brought to you by Americans for Good Government. As always, I'll be joined today by former Colorado Congressman Ken Buck. But kicking off today, we're going to be joined by Congressman Pete Sessions. Ken and Pete are going to talk about a new bill introduced by Congressman Sessions to really tackle fraud the right way in Congress, the way it ought to be done. I'm excited to hear Ken and Pete talk about that issue. We'll get into that in just a minute.
Well, Gary, thanks for that introduction for the podcast today. I am really happy to be joined by my big brother from Congress, someone who I had the honor to serve with and actually serve under. He was the chairman of the Rules Committee when I was on the Rules Committee, and I learned a lot from Congressman Pete Sessions from Texas, and I am so honored that he is here to join us and to talk about the Fraud Accountability Bill, H.R. 8312. Pete, thank you for joining us today.
Ken, thank you very much. It's a distinct honor not just to be with you, but to talk about issues that I think every single American wonders, why do we see things that go on and who's doing something about it? And today is one of those issues.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. You've got a bill that basically does what we should be doing in every business in America and every government in America, and that is instead of paying people fraudulently and then trying to recover the money, your bill actually stops the payment before it gets made, so we don't have to go through the process of recovering the money. What inspired this bill for you?
Ken, this is almost a long story, but I'd like to try to condense it if I can. It is important for us to understand that our federal government relies upon its workers in lots of ways. And one of them is to offer a verification, a challenge, in essence, when you want to get a government benefit, Social Security, VA, any number of programs that the government has. There is supposed to be some bit of a challenge whereby people will have to be challenged as to who they are and to certify things about their claim or what they're asking for. During the 4 years that President Biden was as president, he essentially, in dealing with COVID, said, we're just not going to go to work. You do not have to come to work. And so it left the vast number of challenges that might have taken place to a person who was able to self-report who they were, what they wanted, and to be able to qualify for government benefits. On top of that, there was some $2 trillion, almost $2 trillion that went out the door that was made available by the Democratic Congress and by the president to people to where there was a great big pot of money. This pot of money combined with people who did not go to work meant that the money still needed to go or did go out the door through self-reporting. So what happened is, and this is a number that was subscribed to by the General Accounting Office and the Biden administration, they essentially had about $500 billion a year for 4 years that were considered to be misdirected payments. We also have a term called waste, fraud, and abuse. But these were, in essence, misdirected payments that went to people that at about the third year of doing this, they started figuring out, whoops, we have made a bad decision by the Biden administration, and they came up with something called PRAC. And PRAC is a pandemic response organization whereby they started figuring out we have a lot of money that has flown out the door, and we seemingly have data and information that when we look at it has been misused. And so they began compiling this into a better check again list. And they then had authorized that in law for a short period of time that was going to go away. We President Trump came into office, began this association with PRAC and said, we want to make sure that PRAC lives on, that we keep this data. So what we have done is we have worked with and have a bill that now should be, it really is bipartisan, but my ranking member was not there the day that we did the vote, so the Democrats voted against it. And here is what it does. We have now put together a piece of legislation that would allow the Treasury Department, simply based upon the need to know that they have or are gathering for fraud or misrepresentation purposes, the loss of money, it will go to a special unit within the Treasury Department, people who are authorized to be able to have Social Security numbers and law enforcement capacities and capabilities, and people who deal with these things, because Treasury is how the money goes out the door. So we're going to take this PRAC data, PRAC information, and provide it to the processes and the things we've learned to Treasury, to where there will then be a file which new people will be run through, money that's going out ultimately will be run against this file to make a determination whether this money should go out or not. We find, as you would, Mr. Buck, that it's easier to stop it than it is to find it and collect it. So that's what we've done. We've tried to take and add together the frailties in the system, Social Security, privacy information, data that may be, we feel like that only specialized people should get, move it into Treasury and let them try and manage this.
I was going to ask, first of all, I guess it sounds like sort of a trust but not verify policy by the Biden administration, in contrast to one of our great Republican presidents of the past who believed in trust and verify. And this bill actually requires the verification, if I understand that right.
You do understand it correctly, and it means that this data and information will continue to be compiled, and someone may get through, because what they're saying, it may not fit in the file of a second look now, but on a moving forward basis, they will move further into, instead of 1,700,000,000 pieces, that it will grow, and it will be an ongoing effort now by the federal government. The first real substantial thing, and Mr. Buck, this is one of the reasons why you and I came to Congress, was for not just government efficiency, but to stop the out and out fraud that seemingly no one paid attention to, and yet it diminishes the ability for us to take care of people with the intended purpose to get these monies.
Well, I think that's a great point. Not only does it stop the money going to the right people, but it also drives the national debt. That is a huge issue and will be a huge issue going forward. I am really comforted to hear that it may be bipartisan, because when I saw the vote in the Oversight Committee that it was 23-17, I was thinking, how on earth could responsible Democrats not vote for something like this? But having it be bipartisan going forward means it stands a better chance in the Senate, which really is my next question. And that is, what are the next steps for this bill in the House, and what are the possibilities in the Senate?
Well, the next steps are, and Mr. Buck, as a result of you serving on the Rules Committee for a number of years, you understand this. Pieces of legislation come through what are called jurisdiction. And the jurisdiction in this instance is the Government Reform and Oversight Committee. This will now, and it's been passed, and it was not bipartisan there, you are correct, but it's going to go to the Rules Committee. And it's my hope that the light of day will also offer it a chance, as other people will now come on the bill, as we will notify people, that we will see some commonality towards a reduction of fraud. But just because we say this, it does not mean will happen, but they will have an opportunity for it to be bipartisan, because they, meaning my friends, the Democrats, were involved in the development of this.
So, any time frame to get a House vote to go to rules to get a vote on the floor?
Well, as the gentleman knows, the floor has become very contentious and the Rules Committee very contentious, but I would envision that it will be scheduled sometime in July. As you know, we have June, all of June yet to go, and July. So we've got certainly ample time. And I will approach the chairman of the Rules Committee as a former chairman and say, this is an important bill, and see if we can get that.
That sounds great. And I know the more bipartisan it is, the more chance it has of moving in the Senate. Any forward movement over in the other chamber? I would call it the lower chamber.
Well, certainly the other body these are tools that there are people over there who are interested in the bill. And I would submit to you that if I sell it as being a tactic other than common sense, good government, then it will run into trouble. But if it is seen as good government, if it's seen as this helps address a problem, if it's seen as this is a reasonable option, and gives Treasury that authority and responsibility, uh, I think that they will not want to be on the backside.
So we have a growing audience, Congressman, with Americans for Good Government and this podcast, the Balls and Strikes podcast. What can people do to get involved and to make sure that common sense legislation like this gets passed, gets to the president's desk? I know that President Trump wants to sign a bill like this. How do we help the Congress, the people in Congress who are responsible and want to see good bills passed? How do people help?
Mr. Buck, these are all important questions, and theoretically, one would say, well, you learned in high school advocacy on behalf of that, but it's a little bit more complex today. I would say that if people would come to our website, they will see the bill. We will write about it. We will keep up with it. But gaining information and certainly writing letters, letting your clubs know, checking on whether your member is on this bill, whether they've been given a chance to know more about it. It always helps to have interest from people back home who are asking for good government. And that's the very minimum of what this is.
People who are paying the taxes and expect good government and deserve good government. Folks can also go to americansforgoodgovernment.org and they can follow the progress of this bill as it moves forward. So, Congressman, thank you very much for your time today. It is a great honor once again to see you, and I look forward to more opportunities.
Mr. Buck, thank you very much. It's my hope that when you're in this podcast, you can not only lend some support to the furtherance of Americanism and we as a great nation, but by talking with them about your service. I think your service, the way you went about your service was exemplary, and that gives people confidence that we can have people run, elect people, and bring them forward. And I would say, one of the stories I'd love to have you tell is when you invited me to Freedom, Colorado, maybe as Greeley, and that we met with the people, these young people in the military who needed help through the VA to help them have children after they had been involved in IED accidents. I think it's one of the most stunning examples of effective uh, statesmanship that you displayed. Yes, we did it together, but that you saw it and found a way to make great things happen for members of the military and their families who had been injured and needed the VA to help them to have children. And you are a living legend in my mind, Mr. Buck, about citizen-led initiatives, listening to people and doing things for the right reasons. So it is my hope that you do well. As a former punter for Princeton, I think you've outkicked your coverage a couple times.
Well, Congressman, you are too kind. Thank you very much for your time and your compliments, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Ken, I really enjoyed that conversation between you and Pete. I can tell you guys are very much in tune on the issues, and I know you've called Pete a mentor of yours when you were in Congress. Very fascinating. Remind people again, Ken, what people can do to follow up on this issue.
Yeah, well, first, Gary, it was such an honor to talk to Pete again. I have been to Congressman Sessions' district. He has been up to my district. We've campaigned for each other. We believe so many of the same things. We share so many of the same values. But I hope that folks that are listening to this podcast understand that if they call their congressman and we get co-sponsors on this bill, it's more likely that the bill gets to the House floor. It's more likely that it gets a vote. It's more likely that it gets to the Senate and we get this to President Trump's desk. So the first thing is call your congressman, ask him to help out on HR 8312 by co-sponsoring this bill. The second thing is share this episode. If you like some of what Pete Sessions had to say, you believe in the opportunity to save money and not send money to people who are committing fraud, share the episode, and hopefully others will also contact their congressman and we can build a grassroots effort to get this over the finish line. And then the third thing is please sign up for americansforgoodgovernment.org and we can make sure that you can follow the progress of this bill as it goes through. So hopefully folks can do those three things and help us out.
Absolutely. You know, one big takeaway that people should always remember, and you guys brought it up, about fraud is that every dollar that's wasted on fraud is really taken away, stolen from the people who are supposed to be legally benefiting from it. Well, Ken, we've covered a lot of territory today. Really enjoyed the conversation with you and Pete Sessions. There's a lot going on in the world, but the most important focus for Americans for Good Government is getting the debt under control and getting government spending on the same kind of logical track that households have to do in their everyday budgeting decisions. Ken, remind people how they can get involved if they share that point of view.
Well, one of the ways they can follow us is going to americansforgoodgovernment.org, but also just getting involved in local communities. I hope people go to school board meetings and town council meetings and just get ready to ask a question. But for the best information about waste, fraud, and abuse, best information about the rise of socialism and the threat that it really is for this country, we've got that on americansforgoodgovernment.org, and I hope people sign up. So thank you for being involved. Thank you for caring about America, and look forward to seeing you on our next podcast.